Everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Live from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show as we enter game week 30, as titled on the thumbnail, the week before blankety blank. Yes, next week is the first blank game week of the Cloud season, so this week is the opportunity to maybe make some moves, and we'll be assessing some potential 2, 3, 4 for ones, and then having a look at where some more might come later in the season. For those that aren't sure what blankety blank is, it was an old TV panel show when I think there was only 3 channels on the TV when it first came on. It was hosted by Terry Wogan, then Les Dawson, then I think Lily Savage, and Bradley Walsh has had a go most recently. And the idea was there was 2 contestants, 6 sort of famous, infamous panelists, and a question would be along the lines of, Mrs. Wogan is a very lucky person on a Sunday morning, as I wake her up every Sunday with an enormous blank. And the guest would have to try and come up with a witticism of an innuendo. That one would probably end up with a sausage. You'd get a titter from Mr. Wogan, some guffaws from the audience and the panelists, and then whoever got closest to the answer would go through to the super match round. And the worst one of those I remember seeing, that was just a one-word answer where the guest went against one of the panelists and they had to match, and it came up marker blank. It was a charity game, and the only thing that either of them could think of was marker pen, so they won the charity. Anyway, much ado about that. Evening to FPL Spartans and FPL Sparta in the chat. Evening, gents. So a quick update. We now have the Android app available for those that are using Android phones on Google Play Store. Looks very similar to the one that's on the iPhone that we've had out for about 2 or 3 weeks. Yes, John, please reveal the legend. Absolutely. So yeah, the Android app is out now. Works exactly the same way as the iPhone one. So those that are on Android phones, get yourself downloaded there. You see the screenshots. It's identical, works exactly the same way, and pretty much a representation of what we get on the website as well. So we're going to have a look through my team from last week. The match centres, there's 2 sets to get through, so we're trying to do those fairly quickly. The leaderboard, we've got some update on fixtures. We'll look ahead to what might be coming a bit further down the line. We'll have a look at the transfer counts, the teams of the last week and the teams of the last 6 weeks. Goals and clean sheets from Rob T and Solio. We'll have a look at the stats. I've amended those on the planner now, so we're having a look sort of since after the FA Cup 3rd round, so sort of January, February and early March. We'll have a look at my plan, see how many moves are going to be made. Then I'll look at to next week, and then we'll let people disappear off for the weekend. Okay, so without further ado, my team. So 142 points, which normally would be okay, but there were some scores of over 200, and I didn't have a great week. The plan moves that I said 2 weeks ago when we did the show, yeah, it was 2 Fridays ago, yeah. I was going to bring in Van Dijk and Wilson. In the end, I brought in Konate, thinking, oh, I'll just keep the money back in case this Sunday for Liverpool v Tottenham I want to bring in Mo Salah. So didn't go to plan, and that's probably one of the reasons why we ended up on less points than most. And you'll notice Jorgensen in goal, so that was a change as well because Ruffs was injured. Jorgensen took his opportunity after he replaced Sanchez in the Chelsea nets, but after his faux pas in midweek, he might be quickly back out the Chelsea team. If he is, we'll be moving him on out of my team as well. As I mentioned to a few people that asked, it was an opportunistic move. Probably not a great one, but if it was going to come off, it would have been good. So at the back, I did score some points. Gahey 15, Munoz, who was the captain on that single game day, he went off injured, which doesn't help. He's still hanging around in the team as well. Saliba and Gabriel for Arsenal, 10 and 14 respectively. The aforementioned Konate, only 6 points. Rice 8, Semenyo 18, Bruno Fernandes 34, Haaland 4, disappointing, and Thiago 12. And you'll see there the transfers out were Rodgers, because he played on the Friday night, as we'll see. That must have been for Konate, and Rufs for Jorgensen. So let's have a look at the match centre. So the match started on the Friday night. Wolves 2, Villa 0. Goal scorers were Gomez and Gomez, João Gomez and Rodrigo Gomez for Wolves. Tier 3s, Konsa with the passes and Cash with the tackles. Bournemouth 1, Sunderland 1. Goal scorers were Evan Nielsen and Mayenda. Tier 3 for Tavernier with the shots. Burnley 3, Brentford 4. Burnley 3, Brentford 4. High scoring game. Koyede own goal. Anthony and Fleming for Burnley. Damsgaard with a brace. Thiago and Schade for Brentford. No tier 3s at all. Liverpool 5, West Ham 2. Goal scorers were Ekitike, Van Dijk. That's just clicked off. Well scored for Liverpool. McAllister, Gakpo and a Disasi own goal. Souček and Castellanos for West Ham. Tier 3s, only McAllister with the tackles. That was it. Newcastle 2, Everton 3. Ramsey and Murphy for Newcastle. Branthwaite, Beto and Barry for Everton. Tier 3s, Hall with the passes and the tackles for Newcastle. O'Brien and Undai with the tackles for Everton. Leeds 0, Manchester City 1. Goal scorer Semenyo. Tier 3s, all in the passing. Gahey, Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Cherky. Brighton 2, Forest 1. Gomez and Welbeck for Brighton. Gibbs White for Forest. Tier 3s, Dunk with a pass in and Sells with saves. Fulham 2, Tottenham 1. Wilson and Iwobi with the goals for Fulham. Richarlison for Tottenham. Tier 3s, only Palhinha for Tottenham with the tackles. Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1. Bruno Fernandes with a penalty and Sesko for Manchester United. Lacroix for Crystal Palace. Tier 3s, Casemiro with the passes. Fernandes and Sesko with the shots for Manchester United. Henderson with 9 saves for a tier 3 for Palace. Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1. Saliba and Timber with the goals for Arsenal. Hincapi own goal for Chelsea. Tier 3s on the Chelsea side. Chalobah with the passes. Caicedo with the tackles. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. Much to do about nothing. This was in... Is this in midweek now? Yeah, I think it was. Or maybe it was Monday. It was Monday night, wasn't it? Yeah. No? Oh, I can't remember. No tier 3s, no goals, so much ado about nothing. Yeah, it must have been in midweek. Maybe it was an early Tuesday game. Everton 2, Burnley 0. Tarkowski and Dewsbury Hall for Everton. Garner with the tackles for a tier 3 and Medjbury for Burnley with the tier 3 tackles. Leeds 0, Sunderland 1. Goal scorers Diarra for Sunderland with a penalty. Tier 3, Struijk with the passes for Leeds, Stack with the tackles and Lafay with the tackles for Sunderland. Wolves 2, Liverpool 1. Rodrigo Gomez and Andre for Wolves. Mo Salah for Liverpool. Tier 3s were Sarr with the saves for Wolves, João Gomez and Andre with the tackles for Wolves, and Szoboszlai with the passes for Liverpool. Villa 1, Chelsea 4. Luiz with the early goal for Villa. And then Chelsea, a João Pedro hat-trick and Cole Palmer. Tier 3, Chalobah with the passes and Pedro with the shots. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Saka with the goal. Tier 3's Gomez for Brighton with the tackles and Timber with the tackles for Arsenal. Fulham 0, West Ham 1. Somerville with a goal. Tier 3's only Hermansen with the saves. In retrospect, that would have been a better bet for me than Jorgensen. Man City 2, Nottingham Forest 2. Semenyo and Rodri with the goals for City. Gibbs White and Anderson for Forest. Tier 3's all with a passing for City. Aït-Nouri, Guéhi, Ruben Diaz, Rodri, Cherki and Bernardo Silva, 2 of them with over 100. And for Gibbs White, for Nottingham Forest, it was Anderson with the tackles. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1. Gordon with a penalty and Osasuna. For Newcastle, Manchester United, Casemiro. No tier 3s in the game at all. And then the Thursday night football, Tottenham 1, Palace 3. Solanke for Tottenham. Sarr with a brace and Strand Larsen for Palace. Tier 3s, Richards and Camvo with the tackles. Or was it as passes? Sorry, with the passes. Chrome's having a moment. I was going to stick the leaderboard up. I'll come back to me. There we go. So, in 10th place, Lee Fricker with his Superman. That's why, because it's gone on to... There we go. Yeah, Lee Fricker with Superman. 2355 in 10th. John, Another Chance 99. 2356 in 9th. John Logan in the chat, well done. He's up to 8th place, 2357. Adam Byram, Teddy Marlon in 7th, 2358. FPL Vincenzo, Vincenzo's Winners, 2359. Colin Johnston, Coles Lions, 2366 in 5th. Tim Barry, Can I Just Shock You, 2368 in 4th. Gary Carter with Get Carter, 2378 in 3rd. Currently in 2nd place, Johnny Curry with his JC Milan, 2395. And with a 3-point lead now at the top of the table is Ryan Welsh with Arts and Crafts. And if I just nudge this back to game week 29, you'll see some of the high scores there for last week. So we had Lee, 184, John 205, John Logan 210, Adam 181, Craig 196, Colin 213, Tim 165, Gary 183, Johnny 193 and Ryan 170. So some high scores all around. Evening chat, FPL FOMO and Dave Hannigan. Evening gents, hope you're doing well. Okay, so let's have a look at some fixtures. This is the current layout. This is where we're up to now. So matches this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Brentford v Wolves is a single game day. Next weekend is the blank. You'll notice no fixture for Arsenal. Norfolk Crystal Palace, Norfolk Manchester City and Norfolk Wolves. The Arsenal Wolves match has already been played. The Crystal Palace Manchester City match, you can see I've got it scheduled for 13th of May. That's not confirmed. That's just my current intuition. And then we can see, if I have a look just going to nudge a slide along. These are the fixture counts from the transfer planner, and these are upcoming 2, 3, 4 for 1s between Sunday and then Saturday the 18th of April, which is the first Premier League weekend, the second Premier League weekend after the international break. So Arsenal are only going to play once in that period, which is their match against Bournemouth. Just make sure that's right. Yeah, their match here against Bournemouth on the 11th. Oh, can't click on that. So here on Bournemouth. And Manchester City, they're also only going to play once. That's their fixture here against Chelsea on April the 12th. And you'll notice that they play each other, Arsenal and Man City, on Sunday, April the 19th. So for those that are moving off Arsenal or Manchester City players, these is where your 2, 3 and 4 for 1s in that mini period of time are going to come. So we can see Villa have 4, along with Fulham, Leeds, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest and Tottenham. Then 3 for Brighton, Bournemouth, Burnley, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, Sunderland and Wolves. And 2s for Crystal Palace, Everton and West Ham United. And that brings us up to 19th of April. And then the following week or weekend is FA Cup semi-final week. And that's what those that have been listening to some FPL content this week will have heard mention of these fixtures. So we're looking at Cloud Game Week 37, so in the middle, the big section there. Currently scheduled fixtures are Sunderland v Nottingham Forest on the Friday night, single game day. Fulham v Aston Villa, Bournemouth v Leeds, Liverpool v Crystal Palace, West Ham v Everton, Wolves v Tottenham and Arsenal v Newcastle on Saturday 25th of April. The Super Sunday is currently scheduled for Burnley v Man City, Brighton v Chelsea. And then Monday Night Football, 27th of April, Manchester United against Brentford, another single game day. And my colour coding in green are the fixtures that cannot be moved because both teams are out of the FA Cup. So the Friday night game, Sunderland v Nottingham Forest, will go ahead. The early kick-off on Saturday the 25th of April, Fulham v Aston Villa, will go ahead. One of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Wolves v Tottenham Hotspur, will go ahead. And the Monday Night Football, Manchester United against Brentford, will go ahead. Now, what of the others, you ask? Now, this is where the FA Cup semi-finals are going to be played, and we now know the FA Cup quarter-final draw. We have Southampton against Arsenal and Chelsea against Port Vale, so 2 very good Premier League sides against lower league opposition. We have West Ham against Leeds, so 2 run-of-the-mill Premier League sides playing each other. And then we have Manchester City against Liverpool, 2 what you would say decent Premier League sides playing against each other. Obviously, only one out of each of those ties can get through. The favoured teams are Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham and Manchester City. Chelsea and Arsenal are heavily favoured. Manchester City and West Ham less so, but are still favoured. So where are those matches going to go if they get postponed? Well, I think it's going to depend on A, whether teams are left in Europe, B, whether these matches are picked for television. No surprise to see that Brighton and Chelsea, Arsenal and Newcastle and Burnley v Manchester City are the games that are picked for television. Whether these teams are still in Europe, so whether there's room in the fixture calendar later in the line, and our good old friends Sky Television, whether they've managed to gerrymander enough fixtures to get them in the position they want to. Now, anybody that's heard James Linden, Planet FPL, or Ben Krellin on their YouTubes or pods this week, they will have mentioned the effect of Sky and moving fixtures to suit their own benefit. It doesn't matter so much in FPL because the game gets played in a week, but obviously we know in Cloud it does make a difference because we get a captain every day or every match day. So where are these fixtures going to go? Well, there's a bit of a hint on my graphic. So in the top one, I think that Brighton v Chelsea, should it get postponed, is going to be brought forward, and I have a very good theory that it's going to be played on Tuesday the 21st of April. The reason? Because it can. And Sky will want a match that week. They've already got Brighton against Chelsea as one of their picked games. So if it can be played in that midweek, they will stick it on that Tuesday and show it. There's no UEFA League matches that week. It's a designated blank week ready for having rescheduled Premier League games in. So that's where I think it'll go. And then we see on Wednesday, Arsenal v Newcastle. So if Arsenal beat Southampton, which most people would suggest they would, then that fixture will be brought forward as well. And because Arsenal play Manchester City on the previous Sunday, then I think that'll be played on the Wednesday. Now, I've taken a bit of artistic license with the Thursday because that Thursday is before the FA Cup semi-finals. I don't think that the league or the FA would force teams to play on a Thursday, but I've used it here to show the two games that would need to be brought forward or moved depending on whether Manchester City or Liverpool, whichever one knocks each other out. So if it's Burnley against Manchester City, I can see that being brought forward, and I think it would probably be played on the Wednesday and Sky would clash it, a bit like they're doing tomorrow with Arsenal v Everton and Chelsea v Newcastle. They're both on at 5:30 on two different Sky channels, and they're going to show both concurrently. You choose whichever one you want to watch. Whether they've got some fancy way of split screening so you can do it and watch them both, I'm not sure. I'll be busy tomorrow night, so I probably won't see, but I'll be interested to know. And then the Liverpool v Palace game, this is a bit more tricky because Sky have been up to their old tricks. And if we have a look here on fixture day 95, that is already on Monday of that said week. And they have picked Crystal Palace against West Ham for their Monday night football. Well, why would they do a thing like that, you ask? Well, the reason being, they don't really want the outstanding, if I go back here again, that outstanding Manchester City v Crystal Palace fixture, they don't want that being bumped into this week here on Wednesday the 22nd of April. So they've deliberately picked Crystal Palace here on this week to play West Ham on Monday the 20th of April, so it can't be. However, if Liverpool need to have their fixture against Crystal Palace rearranged and both Liverpool and Crystal Palace remain in European competition, where will it go? Well, I think in that case it might have to go in that midweek. The reason being that Liverpool on game week 40 are due to play Aston Villa, and Aston Villa are still in the Europa League. The Europa League final is on the blank week before Cloud game week 40. So if Liverpool reach the FA Cup final, which is also on that weekend, then their fixture against Aston Villa, if Aston Villa were in the Europa League final, even probably as far as the Europa League semi-finals, then they couldn't bring that fixture forward into that midweek. And we know that the other midweeks that aren't set clear for Premier League games are for UEFA. So if Liverpool and or Aston Villa remain in UEFA competitions, then that fixture can't be shunted in, which does mean that the potential Liverpool v Crystal Palace fixture from this weekend Saturday 25th of April, if that does need to move and it needs to be moved forward, then I think it'll be brought forward here to the Wednesday. I don't think they'll put Liverpool v Crystal Palace on a Thursday and expect Liverpool to play the FA Cup semi-final on the Sunday. And I think that match between Crystal Palace and West Ham here on Monday the 20th would be moved back a day to Sunday the 19th. There is provision in the Premier League's press release to say that match can be moved for either FA or European Cup competitions. And I think that's the reason why that's in there for that. Quick slurp. So what does that all mean? Well, this is the projected fixtures that can or will move. You can see Brighton v Chelsea, Arsenal v Newcastle, and Burnley v Manchester City. As previously, it's got that artistic license to show it on the Thursday, when it'll probably be on the Wednesday. And then Wednesday the 29th of April, we have West Ham against Everton. Assuming that West Ham beat Leeds, that will just get moved back to that Wednesday because it can be played then. Now that leads us to an interesting point as to when we jump back onto these teams that we look like we're going to be moving off. Because if Arsenal do play Manchester City and then Newcastle in quick succession, and Chelsea play Manchester United and Brighton in quick succession, Manchester City play Arsenal and Burnley in quick succession, I think we'll be wanting to go back onto some of their players. But then we're going to get another blank afterwards while everybody else catches up their game week 37 actual fixtures. So a point to note as to when we're going to know this stuff. So in between our blankety blank, there's about 3 weeks off before we have Premier League football. You see the dates on there. We finish on Sunday the 22nd of March. And then we're not back till Friday. It's Friday night game. West Ham against Wolves on the 10th of April. So that's 19 days grace in between. And in that time, we will know the FA Cup quarter-final results. And I imagine by the time we come back on that Friday, we will know the layout of that 21st, 22nd, possibly 23rd, 29th of April fixtures. So we can make some plans to move some players on, but do bear in mind that we might need to be bringing some of these guys back in just over a month's time. John asks in the chat, Ian, if Crystal Palace v West Ham moves from Monday to Sunday, would that mean no Monday night football that week? Yes. I don't think there's anything that's been flagged that can move back the other way. I think, and we'll have a look when I jump onto the calendar because I haven't got it on. Well, I suppose I could work it out from there. We'll do it on the calendar when I'm on the planner. We'll see which slot that's going to move back into if it goes to the Sunday. So I can't remember the other games off the top of my head and what times they're on. Okay. So I think that's enough fixture chat. We'll have a look at sort of the immediate plans when we get onto my team, but we'll reconvene next Friday. We won't know anything more. We'll know a little bit more about who's gone through in the Europa competitions. But when we reconvene after Easter on April the 10th, because we'll have Friday Night Live before Wolves visit West Ham, we should have a good understanding then of exactly what goes where. Hope that makes sense. So these are the average remaining transfers. So overall 29, top 100 16.6, top 50 16.3, and the top 10 17.6. So from the last update prior to game week 29, the top 10 have improved, and the top 50 and the top 100 have dropped. So are the Hares starting to run out of a bit of steam at the head of affairs? It looks that way, with some fresher blood getting into the top 10 with more transfer count behind them. So team of the week, so team of the last game week on the left-hand side, Jose Sá in goal, 16 points. Timber, Branthwaite, Tarkowski and Aït-Nouri at the back, 24, 18, 16 and 16 respectively. Damsgaard, Bruno Fernandes, Gibbs-White, Sá and Semenyo across the middle in a 4-5-1, 21, 20, 20, 20 and 18. And up front, João Pedro with 26. And for the last 6 game weeks, Petrovic in goal, 43. Virgil, Timber, Guéhi, 52, 47 and 43 respectively. In the middle, in a 3-5-2, we've got Semenyo, Palmer, Casemiro, Bruno and Sá, 59, 52, 48, 47 and 46. And up top, João Pedro and Gyökeres, 62 and 43. So on to goals and clean sheets from Rob T and the Solio team for this weekend. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I've got it in fixture order. On the right-hand side of the screen, it's in probability order, shall we say. And I did see something, I think it might have been from Rob. When he first did this, we'll look at Liverpool v Tottenham, 2.47 goals. I think when he'd first looked at the odds from Pinnacle, it was something like Liverpool projected to score 2.1. And then Tottenham have been in free fall ever since, and it's now up to 2.47. So I'll have a look. So no early kickoff on Saturday because West Ham v Man City is moved back from 12:30 to 2000 after City travelled to Madrid to have their arses handed to them in the Champions League. So 3 o'clock, Burnley against Bournemouth. No surprise to see Bournemouth 1.76 and 31. Burnley 1.16 and 17. Sunderland Brighton a bit closer, 1.11 and 1.37, 25 and 33%. Arsenal 2.01 and 50%. At home to Everton, 0.7 and 13. Chelsea, 1.99, so nearly the same in attacking output, but only half as much in defensive, 26%. Newcastle, 1.35 and 14%. I think that might be the more attacking game of those two that are on at the same time. West Ham 1.25, 13% against Manchester City, 2.07 at 29. Wonder how strong Man City will be. Do they think they've got a chance on Tuesday? You notice that Arsenal, Chelsea and Man City are all Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday turnarounds in the Champions League. Saw from Emma Jump the Wave. She's only got 4 predictors for her Man City lineups. 3 out of 4 predicted Haaland to start, but obviously 25% of her predictors predicted him not to start. So captaincy Saturday, interesting. 50% chance clean sheet Arsenal. People going for a last hurrah from their Arsenal defenders, maybe. João Pedro and Palmer, those that are holding for Chelsea. Obviously, Haaland, Semenyo for Man City. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see who it is bust on my team, because I can't remember. So, Sunday games. Man United against Aston Villa. 1.82 and 32% United. Villa beat Lille in the Europa League this week. Was they the only win, I think? I think Villa was the only win. Who got a draw? Newcastle got a draw. Palace got a draw. Everybody else got beat, didn't they? A few chickens coming home to roost in the group chats there. So Villa 1.14, 16%. Palace against Leeds. Palace 1.32, 31%. Leeds 1.17 at 27%. Munoz apparently, if he trains today, he'll be good to go on Sunday. I think that was my reading between the lines from Glasner. Forest against Fulham. Forest 1.46 and 30%. Fulham 1.21 and 23%. Then Super Sunday 16:30 game. Liverpool 2.47 and 39%. Tottenham 0.95 and 8%. It wouldn't surprise me to see Tottenham score. Liverpool, hopefully, as a fan, will be able to score some goals. You can see there they've got Mo Salah as their headline guy on Solio with Rob T. Then Monday Night Football, Brentford against Wolves. Everybody's held Thiago for this. Let's hope he can do the business as a captain. 1.96 and 38%. Wolves 0.96 and 14. They've improved, but are not expected to do too much on Monday. We'll have a look at the right-hand side there. So 7 teams in blue, above 1.75 for projected goals. Bournemouth, Manchester United, Brentford, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool. And for clean sheets, there are 8 in 30% and above. So Forest 30, Palace 31, Bournemouth 31, Manchester United 32, Brighton 33, Brentford 38, Liverpool 39 and Arsenal 50. Okay, so let's have a look. That's a spoiler on my team. See if we move off there. So you will notice here on my database, I've put this to game week 23 now. Got all of the players in. 23 was just after the FA Cup third round. So we're looking... So what's the total minutes there? So Gabriel's played every minute, 9 game sample here. Top player in 9 games is João Pedro with 70 points. Then Semenyo. We'll have a look at the charts. Easier to visualise. So there we are. João Pedro 70, Semenyo 61, Palmer 60. No surprise that Chelsea were doing well. They had great fixtures in that time. Will they be able to keep it up? Virgil at 57. Somerville has been great guns, 54. Can't remember exactly what price he is. He must be cheap. Yeah, 7 million. Good cheap in Obler for single game days. More to come later. So Bruno 53, Casemiro 53, Timber 50, Gabriel 50. Well, no. Timber 53, Gabriel 50, Rodri 50, and then the rest between 48 and 43 there. See him in the chart. So Pedro, 10.10 points per minute. Best of the ones lower down, Wilson and Gyökeres both knocking on 7 there. This is tier points. Just move that across a tad. So tier points here. Top of the shop, Casemiro 26, Rodri and Garner at 25, and then we had for now, forget his first name. Is it Mateus Fernandez, I think, maybe at West Ham. Then Elliot Anderson, who's been hanging around there all season at 20, along with Caicedo and João Gomez at 20. And there's various between 19 and 14 further down. This is the top 100 ownership. So Bruno Fernandes, highest owned at the minute, 95. Gabriel 93, Haaland 90, Thiago 82, Timber 78, Semenyo 76, Raya 73, and then way down to Guehi 48, and only one more above 40 is Virgil. And these are the combined points compared to the ownership. So the ones that are above the graph at the top of the tree are Semenyo and Raya, and then some of the low-owned players scoring high points. Ismail Sarr's done very well. Enzo, he's been there all season really, hasn't he? Harry Wilson, dirt cheap, going well at the minute. Ekitike as well. Mateus Nunes, another one has been, since he's got in that City side, he's been scoring points for fun. Saliba and Mbeumo, two high-priced assets that aren't so well owned but have been scoring well. And then Sesko, who's come into the fore in this period. And we'll have a quick look at see who's actually doing the points per 90 or the things per 90 to get these tiers. So tier 3s in a passing is Rodri and Tosin. Tier 2s, Dunk, Curtis Jones, Ruben, Diaz, Saliba, Chalobah, Virgil and Nico Gonzalez. In the shots, nobody in this period is even in the orange. Quite a few in the yellow. Those closest, Sesko and Haaland at 1.9 and then Nemecha at 1.5. Tackles, nobody in the green. 4 in the orange, Ugarte, Palhinha, Florentino and Igrabunum. He's been there often enough I can actually say his name now. And then the saves. Save tiers are difficult to get hold of. It's a good job you get the extra 2 points for that clean sheet. Areola, Trafford, Dubravka, Marbadashvili, Johnston, Hermanson, Pope, Sells, Riffs and Petrovic in the yellow. And there's only, 1, 2, 3... four of those currently regularly playing. Right, so a quick look at the plan, see what we're going to be doing this week. So current team is Jorgensen, Fernandes, Saliba, Guehi, Munoz, Gabriel, Rice, Konate, Semenyo, Thiago and Haaland. It's obviously not playing in that order, it's just the order they've come into the team. So the current plan is to do 4 moves on Sunday. Starting at the bottom, Haaland out for Ekitike. He should have come in before. He's quite likely to be captain on Sunday. Rice for Harry Wilson. If Harry Wilson is starting, he will be coming into the team. Gabriel for Virgil. This one I'm not certain of. However, the fixtures are there. Virgil has been doing well. I need to make up some ground. I've dropped out of the top 100. I've got more transfers than the average. So that will probably happen, but it's not certain. Saliba to Gibbs White might seem a bit strange on the face of things, but Forest are one of the teams that's got a 4-for-1. And as we saw on the fixtures, they also have a single game day on a Friday at the end of April, or towards the end of April. And if I can keep him for that, he looks the best captain on that day currently. So if he keeps fit and keeps in my team, I've got that one sorted, and then I can move on to any of 18 teams worth of players after that Friday single game day. I've got a plan to move Jorgensen to Kelleher. If Jorgensen loses his spot, I'll have to put my hands up and say that was a bad move. The opportunity was there, but it didn't pan out. So Kelleher is the one that I've chosen, mainly because he's playing well. Cheap, 6.8, and he's got the fixture after Chelsea have played. And then we have a look a bit further ahead. I am looking to move Munoz on to Bowen a week on Sunday. Might seem strange that it doesn't look like the best captaincy pick. However, we'll have a look a bit further up. They do have the single game day on the following Friday against Wolves, so he'll be captain there. And this one might seem a bit strange to bring João Pedro in for Thiago on Sunday the 12th of April. It might not happen. This is expecting the fixture for Brighton v Chelsea to move into this day here. So if that happens, then it might be a good opportunity to move Thiago to João Pedro. As you can see, I have exact funds available to make that move. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching, everybody. Next week, we'll be here for Friday Night Live ahead of Bournemouth against Manchester United on the 20th, so a week today. And then that is the blankety blank week, where only 8 fixtures take place. Then after that, there's a 3-week break before we have the next set of cloud fixtures, which incorporates the Easter holidays, an international break, FA Cup round, quarterfinals, and the first leg of the quarterfinals of the UEFA competitions. Right, we shall let everybody disappear. Thanks very much for watching. Hope I've managed to impart the bit about the fixtures, so I think that's important. So enjoy your weekend. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. If you want to use the transfer planner that has been utilised in the show, you'll find that on Patreon, patreon.com/Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. So enjoy your weekend, enjoy the football, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody. Bye for now.